What's going on, everybody? Let's Talk Jets Radio. Quick video here. Hope you guys are enjoying your Tuesdays. I know I woke up just dejected and angry and just kind of feeling like this season is pretty much on the brink of collapse. You're 2-4, 2.5 games out of the division, and so many of the same issues that we saw under Saleh, that we've seen under previous head coaches. We saw them again last night. No accountability, no discipline, zero ability to convert in the red zone. Just all of the same issues that we've been seeing, we saw again last night. It's hard to feel like anything is going to change. And then a few hours later, you get the news about Davante Adams becoming a Jet, third-round pick that could become a second-round pick. Don't really care too much about the compensation. The Jets are pretty much all in already on this season. You have the additional third-round pick to work with. And honestly, if Joe Douglas doesn't work out with this season, he's not going to be here for next year. And even if this year is great, I said last night, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Joe Douglas uses that momentum to try to get another job elsewhere, seeing as how he's in the last year of his contract. So I'm not worried about the compensation at all. I think hiring a new GM and the next head coach, if it's not going to be Ulbrich, it's going to be a nightmare regardless. There are some very, very dark years that are likely lying ahead for the New York Jets. I hate to say that. So you might as well push your chips all the way in with Davante Adams, as much talent as possible, and hope to God that you can overcome the lack of leadership and the inability of this coaching staff to just maximize the talent on this roster. So you have an all-pro talent in Adams. I know he's getting a little bit up there, as far as age goes, but I still think he's a number one wide receiver. The numbers that he's put up throughout his career with Rodgers are just absolutely insane. You figure he's going to open things up for Garrett, for Brees, should help in the red zone as well. I just feel like still the lingering issue is leadership. It's accountability, the word that we continue to throw around. Just for Ulbrich especially, like another guy that's likable, you want to get behind him. But last night especially, it felt like I was listening to Saleh again. And a lot of these terms, like good week of practice, we're going to take a hard look at things, look at the tape. A lot of these terms, Jet fans have been hearing for far too long. Whether or not it's true, whether or not you actually have to look at the tape before you can diagnose what actually went wrong, or you're just trying to say that so you don't have to throw a player under the bus, or if it's just PR talking points, whatever it might be, Jeff Ulbrich needs to go to that podium and be Jeff Ulbrich. He does not need to be this robotic version of a head coach. Last night, I did not hear a guy that sounded like himself. And for whatever reason, like he's got 12 games here. He's worked his whole life for this opportunity. I can't imagine why he would want to go out any other way. Like, be yourself. Like, your answers can be short, precise, show some emotion, show that you're pissed off, show that this shit that we saw last night is not acceptable. That is the only way this thing is going to change. It doesn't matter if you get Davante Adams, if Hassan Reddick ultimately comes back, which, apparently they gave him permission to seek a trade, so that's not going to happen anyway. It doesn't matter who you acquire, the name on the back of the jerseys at this point. Like, I'm done getting excited about acquisitions. This team has to go out and prove it. This team has to go out and win games. Adams, I think, gives them a better chance to do that, but ultimately none of it's going to change unless you have the leadership at the top. And so Ulbrich needs to take charge of this, but also Aaron Rodgers, too, to a certain extent. You watch him on the sideline, the body language, going right to the bench. He's talked about the fan base, what we've been through, what the organization has been through. I think he understood when he said it what was needed to turn things around here, but I also think he underestimated what a losing culture, how it's grown over the past decade plus. Like, there are deep-rooted issues here that need fucking Superman to come in and save them. And so Rodgers has been far from the Jets' biggest problem, but he also needs to be so much more and so much better, especially in that leadership role, especially when things are going wrong. Like being active on the sidelines, talking to receivers, talking to offensive linemen, just getting this shit figured out, yelling at guys, holding guys accountable. If the head coach isn't going to do it, then he's got to be the one to do it also. It's probably asking too much, especially as he's getting his ass beat, but it's what's needed. If the Jets are going to turn this around, it's got to come from leadership. It's got to come from holding guys accountable. And you've got guys that you can hold accountable today. I mentioned last night, Zuerlein, Kinlaw, Michael Clemens. Either reduce their playing time, cut somebody, do something. play calling in the red zone. If I'm Ulbrich, first series next week, we're in the red zone. We don't score a touchdown. I'm taking over play calling. Like, take ownership of this shit. You're the head coach. You oversee the entire thing. If it's not working, take it upon yourself to get it right. The Jets desperately need leadership at the top if this thing is ever going to change. So I welcome the Adams trade. I hope to God this gets the offense going. We get with the times. We become a more dynamic offense. We put up 30 points a game. The run defense gets their shit figured out. Hopefully teams are forced to throw the ball more because we're putting up so much points. But it's hard to see this coaching staff getting it all together in such a short period of time with all these changes and everything else. So I'm trying to embrace this. I really am. It would be so much easier to embrace if we were 3-3 sitting in first place. So obviously an uphill climb, but 11 games is plenty of time to do it. The roster is beyond talented. This would seriously be one of the greatest travesties in Jets history if this roster does not even make the playoffs. Expectations are still enormous. Implications are huge. The pieces are there. There is no reason at all why this should not be a playoff team.